jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Hey, talking Hong Kong cinema tonight. Here for a brief blurb. I got Jason from Genre Exposure on to weigh in on who are his top faces of Hong Kong cinema, from Michelle Yeoh to Chow Yun-fat to Michael Wong and Anthony Chow Wan Sang. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said Chow Yun-fat.
I mean, Hardboiled was the first movie you guys did, so
Yeah, sure was.
John
Yeah.
Woo's Die Hard, and I kind of see that as kind of the gist, is like, if people aren't inspired by Killzone or Infernal Affairs, they're definitely more inspired by Hardboiled. To have a narc team up with another detective and stop a bunch of violent terrorists and car thieves.
Oh, yeah. And the action is so well choreographed, and it's insane. It's one of the best movies ever made.
And I used to be subscribed to Tiger Cinema late in high school, and it was kind of one of those where it was kind of like Netflix, where you rent one Hong Kong DVD at a time, and
Nice.
it was fun for a while. And I was looking at all kinds of Hong Kong sites, and it got eventually to where it was like, yeah, I've seen them all. Unfortunately, it did get to that. It was like some of them were very repetitive, some of them had great action but a terrible storyline, and others were great but were wrongly advertised as action. But yeah, I grew up loving the movies of Benny Chan, and he passed away unfortunately pretty recently, Ringo Lam, and even Cy Hark, more than John Woo, even, because you'd see them once they got to America, and it's like, it's just not the same. And good on you if you know Jackie Chan from Rush Hour and Shanghai Noon, that's fine, versus Police Story and Drunken
Project
Master,
A.
and Project A. And it's like, and I get plenty who were kind of like Godzilla fans. It's like it's a different deal in of itself, watching Japanese kaiju monsters fight each other, but it's like same kind of deal. It's like, I love it all. So it's like, okay, I get it. So, and it's kind of like with the podcasts that deal with just an actor and their resume. Is like, eventually you're going to run out of movies, and at the same time, like, there's something for everyone, and you got to figure out which kind of a fan you are. Is like, okay, and it's just like with the music artists we're talking about. Is like, okay, I liked them up until that last album.
Right. You're still going to give them another chance. They come up with something new, you're still going to check it out.
Even if it's their Chinese democracy. It's
yeah. Was there a movie or one particular actor or movie that got you into the whole Hong Kong action?
It was kind of all a blur of all at once, really. I was following Bruce Lee, and then I get into Jet Li, Spike TV and FX and TNT would play a bunch of the movies, but that was just adding fuel to the fire. It's like, and then it just kind of became the HBO effect. It's like, you go to the video store, you go to wait to tape it, and so I'm in the DVR world, and anything I can't find on YouTube back in when everything was on there before they got stricter, and I would do that. I would go on to.
It's crazy how hard. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say, it's crazy how hard it is to still get a lot of these movies. I mean,
totally. And I
There are
have many
boutique
purists,
labels.
they
Yeah.
will not watch it if it's not on Blu-ray. I'm like, well, good luck. The original elements have likely been lost. You want to talk like Doctor Who, like some of them did misplace their tapes. They don't even know where they are.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, if you're not seeing, I get that though. If you're not seeing some of these movies in widescreen, you're just not seeing it.
You
know?
really aren't. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's like subculture of it out there somewhere with Tubi reintroducing video store level movies.
Sure.
Amazon
Mhm.
Prime doing that, and that's kind of what Shudder's doing with horror. All these long lost
Yeah. And
movies.
Ariel just put out a really nice box set of Shaw Brothers movies.
There you go. And see, yeah, I've struggled to get into some Shaw Brother movies. I know there's some good ones. I think it's just a matter of I'm just kind of more used to just the post Bruce Lee movies that were just poorly dubbed, and that added to the charm. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, Sammo Hong is influential, and you want to talk a guy that fucker's old as dirt, and he's been in all the eras, all the 70s,
Oh, yeah.
the 80s, 90s, and then that's what's cool too is like everyone knows him from somewhere. They either know him from his Jackie Chan work. He choreographed Schlock like the Medallion before the producers took it over, or was his partner in crime in Project A. He would
Mhm.
always be Jackie's right hand. They'd make it an unofficial buddy movie.
And he
Or
had a
you're-
TV show for a little while.
Right, and so there you go. If you didn't see any of that, if you didn't see,
It was a martial law, I think it was called.
yeah, if you didn't see that, then you saw martial law. And I mean, I was already familiar with him, but yeah, martial law, I think, added a bunch of perfect appreciation. There, you took the premise of Rush Hour, and you just had him, and they did one hell of a job, considering that he and Arsenio Hall, years later on forums, there was stuff that came out that they did not get along with each other. But I mean, what a fun cast. Kelly Hu and a bunch of the
yeah.
other Nash Bridges, Lost guys are working on it. This is like, it's just a fun ass show.
Yeah.
And even with different tones and writing and everything, it's still, it's pretty well appreciated. I still have my bootleg DVDs from it. I'm not sure if I should even upgrade to the official release, but it is what it is.
And speaking of Sammo Hung, I think Jackie Chan's best movies were the ones with Sammo and Ewan Biao.
1,000%, because One Biao is just so
He's
influential.
amazing.
I'm glad
I don't
you
know
brought
why
him
he
up.
wasn't bigger than he was. I don't understand it.
It's kind of what I equate to Carl Urban and Frank Grillo in today's, action movies. There's just too much competition. So unfortunately, people who go to the cinema are going to watch the Denzel Washington, Liam Neeson movie. Nothing wrong with them. Those guys are badasses. But
Sure.
in video stores, same thing. It's like more people are going to just watch, the Dolph Lundgren and Scott Adkins movies versus whatever Frank Grillo or any, has been action stars putting out that still has a loyal fan base. But it's just not as big, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Despite the fact that they can do the work and they've done collaborations with them, like Frank Grillo did one of those Hong Kong movies with that one guy who's been, I think, Wu Jiang, who's been in a bunch of international productions, Wolf Warrior, and same deal.
Yeah.
Scott Adkins was in one, and I think Tony Jaa is attached to one coming out soon. So it's like,
yeah, Ewan Biao was just. Have you seen Dragons Forever?
Great movie. I remember, even though I saw it,
he is doing things in that movie that is just insane.
The comedy works, the setup is great, and then the final fight, like, it easily rivals. What is it? Eastern Stars or whatever. What's the one that got Benny the Jet and Sammo Hung and Jackie all on
Wheels on Mills?
Yeah, it's very similar to that. We're just like, it's just all stop, ape shit, very well done action.
It's so good, yeah.
But the comedy is also just great. It's like it just reminds you, is like why they were the Buster Keatons, Marx Brothers of their age, and
that's the thing that Jackie. I mean, mainstream audiences don't realize how he brought that comedy to kung fu. Like he's responsible for that almost single-handedly.
Totally, and or they remember again just a star who crossed multiple areas and was like, okay, well, fair enough. I'm fine if you know who Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock are. We already did a great tribute to Jackie and Wanbot and Yeoh and even Donnie Yen themselves, but it's like it even gets to where it's like even some of their movies are just underseen. Like I'm still seeing people as like they only know Donnie Yen from Ip Man or Michelle Yeoh just from her work on her recent comedies. And I'm like, no, not even remotely her at her best. You got to watch the James Bond movie she's in, I'm fine if you like her.
She
from
steals
Star
that
Trek.
movie. She steals that
She
movie.
totally steals the movie. Yeah.
I wanted to see more of her. It's like, where's her
Right.
movie? You know?
I even see people who say, "Oh, he beds her at the end." I'm like, no, doubt it.
Nice.
Admires from afar.
Well, speaking of Jackie Chan, one of my most fun cinematic experiences was seeing Rumble in the Bronx.
Oh, and there's another one. It's great no matter what version you watch, but it's like you see the uncut version. It's like they took out that the NYPD was crooked, and that's why he's running around with no police helping him out. It's like, that's interesting.
Right? Yeah, they cut a lot of stuff out, but it was a packed house, and everyone's loving it and stuff. And
oh, really? Okay.
and this has only happened to me a handful of times, maybe 3 times in the theater. But you know, he always has the stunts that went wrong at the end and everything. And when he gives his thumbs up at the end, the audience, everyone just applauded and clapped. It was insane. It was like a live performance.
Sweet.
The energy was just so awesome and so intense. That's what Jackie Chan could do in his prime, you know?
Yeah, and I can't remember the last time everyone's just clapped at the end of a movie.
Right.
Maybe a
How often
recent
do you see
slasher
that?
tribute or something, but that's
Yeah, or
about
Star
it.
Wars, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you got so many
Maybe.
people going to the popcorn area. Yeah, it depends on which one, but yeah, I know what you mean. It is that kind of mentality, and I'm sure someone. I mean, with the recent, you want to talk toxic fandom, I'm sure there's just as many people who threw popcorn at the screen at Halloween versus said, "Oh, that was awesome," you know. So it's just, I wonder how a Hong Kong film would kill nowadays, because it's like there's clearly an audience, but they're going on just the giant stars and having to just train them for 2 weeks into knowing kung fu. So I mean, unless it's something like John Wick, I can't think of or Equalizer. I can't think of as many of. They just have the gotcha, you know, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's badass." You know?
Right. Yeah, you don't see that anymore.
Just too much to take all at once. Yeah.
If I had to pick a favorite HK action star, it would be Chow Yun-fat.
Yeah, and that says a lot for a guy who he only studied it for a bit, but yeah. I see it with all kinds of audiences. Like my grandmother didn't do any of those, but she saw Crouching Tiger when it premiered on network TV. And
yeah,
my mother always wondered, we would watch a random drama that had Asian characters or a period piece and be like, whatever happened to that one guy with the Fu Manchu whiskers? And it's like, oh, you're talking about Chow Yun-fat and Curse of the Golden Flower. He's always working. He's just doing period pieces. You know?
Yeah. But did you ever watch Better Tomorrow?
Yeah, and
yeah, that was the first HK movie I really saw. First, like modern
John Woo's Godfather.
Yeah, man, it blew me away. That's one of those movies that it was just so eye opening. It was so cool, you know, just effortlessly cool. Like when at the very beginning, when Chow Yun-fat lights his cigarette with that fake $100 bill, it's just oh man, you know he's cool.
It's even on the cover for a reason.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Did you ever see? It's around that same time. And it's like totally different names too. And it's just badass movie. He plays basically a kingpin, just being hunted by both the police and just rival gangs. And what's it called? I'm gonna do a special on it soon, but.
Out of Gamblers?
Similar, not the same movie. Although that is interesting how that balances Hong Kong shootouts with crime comedy and gambling scene. It's from '87. He did them both back to back. I couldn't believe it. So he did it back to back with Flaming Brothers. But yeah, Rich and Famous, and then Tragic Hero. So to make it even more confusing, Tragic Hero is like listed as like the sequel to Rich and Famous, but either way,
I have not seen that.
Both fucking awesome movies. You can find most of them, I'm sure, on the interwebs.
Cool.
Definitely on YouTube. And
I will amend that oversight.
If anything, you'll find the DVDs, at half price books, and for me, Better Tomorrow, it does have its moments. I don't think it's Wu at his best, but like these, like they are just dynamite. It's like you have the cops coming in, they're doing some kung fu, and you buy it because you have enough of a setup, and just all the other just traitorous guys again, just too many to name, but it's like, it just, they're just getting any other person who you definitely have seen. If you don't know him, you've definitely seen him in Jet Li and Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh's work.
Yeah, because T. Leung was in the Better Tomorrow movies too, and he's old school. He was
Tony Leung, and same deal. I get annoyed when everyone's like, "Oh, Sung-Chi, that guy." I'm like, he was well known before that.
yeah,
Infernal Affairs was like, the joke is that he's basically playing his character from Hard Boiled. But
yeah,
you know,
right.
I actually think it's the better version of The Departed, and a lot of people don't realize that, you know, The Departed is a remake. It's like,
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of. I found it funny how the filmmakers were even at the like an award show, and they're like, we didn't care for the constant profanity, but we kind of like that it won Best Picture because it means we technically won. I'm like,
right.
that's amusing. And don't get me wrong, they're both cool in their own right. We actually basically said, is like, this is kind of the last crime movie we really like by Scorsese, because there is kind of a tribute to kind of the Tarantino kind of movies, and definitely Hard Boiled in some aspects.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Especially the scene where Nicholson is getting shit talked by the Chinese gang.
mm-hmm.
And like, we'll take your money. We don't want shit to do with you.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie.
Oh man! And unfortunately, we did one hell of an episode. I'm kicking myself sideways because we had it planned for a long time. We put it off by a year. We recorded it. Somehow got lost to the abyss of time in my computer, and I don't know where it is now.
Oh no!
And now I am like just kicking myself sideways. I'm like, should I just record it, or is it just the recording that just is not to be? Do I want to go the extra mile to recapture the magic a third time? So it is what it is. But are there any current filmmakers who you think kind of echo just East meets West kind of mentality? Because it seems like more people like Spielberg and Antoine Fuqua are heavily Akira Kurosawa influenced, but I can't think of a filmmaker who's like totally in Hong Kongville, other than obviously, you know, some people who were part of the direct-to-video market or doing horror movies and just for fun mixing in a cop, like Maniac Cop and even Full Eclipse are perfect examples. It's like they'll always have a cop and just going akimbo with their guns, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Lethal Weapon kind of did that briefly in Part 3, and it's like, yeah, it's there, but it's in Part 4 with Jet Li being the villain, but that's it, you know.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of that right now. Probably the John Wick movies come closest in a lot of ways.
Totally.
The whole gun fu and everything.
The
like
hallway
that.
of mirrors in Part 2 is a perfect Enter the Dragon homage, but then you see it even in a stupid blockbuster like Skyscraper with The Rock. There's a hallway of mirrors mechanism there, so it's like,
Right.
and it's like you see some of them here and there, but it's all a matter of whether it was well thought out or it's just forced in versus is like, yeah, it's there, but it's, you know, that could be referencing anything, honestly.
Yeah. The last one that really used those Hong Kong influences to great effect, honestly, I think was The Matrix. You know, that introduced
1000%.
people to the whole, you know, wire work and just that kind of that style
And how
that
one
people had never seen
Ping
before.
and
Yeah,
company.
right.
There was a great interview. Tim Storms, he was on Star Trek on Told Podcasts, and you know he's worked on so many international productions, and he talked about how it was like everyone was working on all kinds of movies, and it wasn't hard for stunt teams to work nationwide as well as internationally, and they would always have to bring translators with them. And Matrix was definitely one of those. It's like they had to figure it out a year before it went into production. It's like do double the work to make it be that good. And so it is wild how, yeah, everyone just thinks, hey, I can just get my friends and we can film a movie on video. It's like, well,
Nope.
Not going to work. It's
because if you look at the original Matrix and the last one that came out, there's a world of difference.
that, and so many of them would just like, that's where it was really even more frustrating. All these movies that were so bad they're good, or junky fun, or just not good at all, just heavily promoted the, you know, choreographed by the guys who worked on as part of the Matrix team or some shit like that. And it would just be like, but is the story good? Is the movie itself just very entertaining? It's like, probably not. It's just never heard of this before.
And really good action can carry a movie, but to have a good story and good action.
Totally. And they went the wrong sauce way in that they would just hire not only guys who just couldn't do action convincingly, but just they'd hire music video directors because they were cheaper. And it was like story. You got to just worry about getting everyone's attention. Story,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see anything like that again. I mean, I think the golden age of Hong Kong cinema was
even when it came back this last year, it's like, nah, it's too close to it. They're just not going to be able to recapture the magic because they captured all kinds of guys who had worked on like Terminator 2 and Hong Kong stuff and plenty of other stuff. And it's just like you got to get, it's a certain mindset. So it's like if you got people who are working on all kinds of blockbusters, generally they're all speaking the same language already before they actually are. And when you got them to where, again, they're giving their best efforts and then none of it is even being seen in the room after the fact. I mean, there's some movies I actually really dug in that, like they tried really hard to recapture a movie that could capture any kind of audience. Like I didn't like them when I saw them initially, but I kind of I still have a connection to them. Ballistic X vs. Sever was a cool take on Thailand kind of styled action with the Hollywood blockbuster guys working on it. And then War with Jet Li and Jason Statham is like, that was kind of similar to stuff like The Perfect Weapon and Black Rain.
Yeah,
mixing in kind of Shakespearean aspects, and it brought in a bunch of Japanese and Hong Kong superstars there as well, along with American guys. And I'm like, I don't think they've done it as well because there's others that are too often just trying to do the whole Romeo Must Die and Rush Hour mentality. Is like, just bring in someone.
It's like a copy of a copy, and it just doesn't.
Right. Don't even make sure that it works. And the 90s were better at somehow just. I mean, you even see it in older TV shows. They'd have a sports star on there actually acting, or a wrestler before they became a movie star. It's like somehow they must have just had better agents who could just say, sure, let's actually just make sure we all get along and we can just figure out how to be convincing in a scene, regardless of whether we're that great an actor. I mean, rappers, they do it now, but now it's just painful. They don't have any. Even rock stars, they'll do it. And it's like, yeah, but they're just playing themselves. They're not, not actually contributing to the movie. And so it's like, I feel like we're aging backwards. Everyone's just throwing in someone for a cheap reference versus no. If I see you bring in a video, direct-to-video star like Olivia Grunner or Tom the Dragon Wilson, they better actually be contributing something and doing something that video hounds like me you wanted to see when I collected their DVDs. And same thing with them. It's like, I see Jet Li making cameos, and unfortunately, I never dig it now. I'm just like, okay, but he has arthritis, and he's probably heavily ADR'd. He's just he was already looking his age in the Expendables, and he
just selling the name at that point. So
unfortunately. But yeah, did you ever get into Anthony Chow Zhang? He's kind of another one. He's the main bad guy, Mad Dog and Hard Boiled. But I light up whenever I see him in any of Johnny Toe's movies, and I'm just like, there's just some people that they just speak it then and there, and they're dynamite. They're great, and it's just
it's a mixture of that training. It's that training and that charisma. Yeah.
Well, and just like you said, like how Juan Baio is so good in front of and behind the camera and just invaluable. I feel like Ringo Lam and Johnny Toe, they get overshadowed, even though I find their plots even deeper. Like if you see Vengeance from 2009, oh my God.
I have not seen that one.
The poster looks like something out of Old Boy or something, but it's not that kind of movie. It's more of a just, they're just so good at just showing their movies. I mean, you've seen them kind of already in some of Tarantino's work. Even Ghost Dog kind of has a similar style thing on The Professional. But it's like these movies are just as good as, say, a Taken type movie where it's just like you just come in, you instantly believe everything they've just said. And it's just, again, just out of this world the way they're shot. You're just like, oh, my God. How did they shoot that? I wish there's more special features. All I get is maybe a commentary with like a historian, but I want more. And and you watch it on DVD or Blu-ray, and fortunately Showtime's been playing some of these, especially Drug War, and is like, thank you, because it's just someone needs to know about these guys, and a better way to know about them. And more or less, it's interesting how twisted they can be and which ones just don't work. Like Donnie Yen is practically invincible. If
Right.
whether or not you like 14 Blades or Kung Fu Jungle, like there's still something for them in there. And then there was like another one, undercover movie that Yen did around that same time, and unfortunately too much of it got cut out, so I think he had like a dementia-ridden mother and other stuff that just was not well integrated. But you want to know more about these movies and see if there's an uncut version overseas you can find. That's how much they gain your attention, regardless of whether they entertain you or not.
Yeah, it's crazy how prevalent that still is. Different cuts for different territories. It's just
1,000%. And like you say, it's just not. It can be easy to introduce some of these, and there's others where it's like, yeah, well, it's just part of the culture,
Yeah, I mean, some things are lost in translation, and of course, I mean, without getting too political, there's a lot of things that the Chinese government won't allow in their movies. So a lot of films won't even play over there.
And sometimes they're talking smack about America, and he's like, hey, we can handle satire, but unfortunately, political stuff is just still rampant, even before,
Yeah, and that should not affect art. It shouldn't, but
it should never. And it's like, I can understand if it's a deleted scene and a producer stepped in and said, it's not agreeable. Someone dies at the end. But then there's other ones like, no, let the audience decide. And when someone, even years later, when I was following the work, so I knew who Ringo Lam was before I realized other people kind of knew. It seemed like there was just only small Hong Kong ones. I absolutely adore La Ching-wan and Simon Yam. Those two is like, Simon, I think, is basically just a more charismatic. I don't know who I would compare him to. He's just one in a million, just stands out on his own terms.
He's so awesome in Full Contact.
Full Contact, and just
also with Chow.
And I don't even know why he hasn't gotten as much American stuff. Like, this closest he got was the international production, like Tomb Raider 2, and that was it. But like, I see him pop up in Killzone and all these other just movies, and you just know he is just going to be dynamite. He's going to kill it. But I feel like La Ching-wan, he's like the Tom Hanks of Hong Kong. He goes for the everyday role, and only occasionally will play a cop. But like, you see Full Alert, and Ringo Lam is practically doing his tribute to Heat, just violent, unstoppable crime gang. And Michael Wong is interesting in that he's made some appearances, but not too many. And he looks very similar. He's just as mixed a celebrity as Keanu Reeves, but the same kind of deal. Is like, he's limited, but he has charisma, and yet people want to see him. I shine anytime I see him make a cameo as a SWAT captain. Or
it's that X factor. It's just that charisma.
That X factor. The movie can be whatever. I can't blame them for being part of the production. I know they're going to have a cool story about it 10 years later down the road. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like La Ching-wan, he was kind of just their go-to if they couldn't afford or they didn't want Chow Yun-fat. Is like same kind of deal. Is like, you see him playing opposite of Andy Lau and definitely what's his name? He had like a giant sex scandal. It was one of those, someone had videotaped them, but not.
Oh yeah, I can't remember that.
It'll come to me. He's one of the guys in Killzone, but it's like he played opposite of Andy Lau and Donnie Yen and all those kinds of guys. And it's like, he's great. And I see Big Bullet on part of my Tiger Cinema rental service, and I'm like, this is great. The whole ending is practically a Die Hard in an airport plane take down, and it's like, the way they do SWAT teams are great. There's others where it's like, even if the action doesn't stand out, you must see it. It's like, and I have so many in my collection that just from the late 90s. Is like, how do you even pick a great Hong Kong film from 98 alone? There's just Beast Cops and all these other ones.
That was the end of the golden age, late 90s.
just go
After the
all out.
handover back to China, we don't get that type of movie. You know, we didn't get that anymore.
Mhm.
It's such a shame.
Totally. Even if it doesn't work, you just respect it. You just like, and there's a few other ones that are pretty good. And there was even a bunch of great firefighter movies, but and I recommend all of them. Just totally see them all wherever
Nice.
you can.
Yeah, I still have
And-
some big holes to fill. I got a few more I got to go back and watch.
Oh, good. And it gets to that point where you're just like, I am down. And fortunately, there are some cool third-person streaming sites you can find, third party or not. And it's like,
Yeah,
so if you can't find them now, you can. I'm like, great, because you didn't always have that option, and
it may be the only option now. So
it might be unless you want to fork over $40 on eBay. And eBay is better about it than Amazon, I find.
yeah,
And I have a portable DVD player at work, so I'm always watching some movie or show if I haven't downloaded something onto my Netflix. It's like, depends on my mood, and I'm not going to be bored. I'm going to catch up and watch something that I otherwise don't have time to watch during my regular off days.
nice, nice. I used to work third shift at a hotel, and that was what I did. I watched movies all night, and it was amazing.
You have to, and it's tough explaining to your peers and folks. They think, "Oh, you're dicking around." I'm like, "What? I'm not going to twiddle my thumbs, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to just be seeing texting." So I was like, "I'm going to have something on. I'm going to have music playing on my Pandora. I like it. Kiss my ass." Just
That's right.
and it's great hearing Jackie Chan even sing, and it blows your mind when you realize, yeah, like Andy Lau and a bunch of those other guys played around with some of that. It's like they have a very natural voice.
Yeah.
And when I saw, I think it was like the 2011 Olympics or something, Jackie Chan was singing there, and I was like, oh my god, he's got it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
But I mean,
Jackie.
I see these other guys. Aaron Kwok kind of got shit at first because he was like a Hong Kong singer turned actor, and it's like, I have no problem with him. I don't think he's bad at all. I think China
Yeah.
Strike Force kind of had a schlocky plot, but there's some good stunts in it by Jackie Chan's collaborator Stanley Tong.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, a good action will forgive a lot of problems.
I'll even take it over American action when it's like,
Oh.
you know better. I know you can give me a better plot than this schlock.
I can't remember the last. Probably John Wick was the last American action film that I really liked.
Mhm.
If you consider, I guess you would consider Bond action. Casino Royale, I thought was very good.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't talk too much about Bond because I think you have an upcoming
I-
show about Bond, don't you?
No, it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, it's just because we always get that shaky cam. That was like the American action motif for a while.
Yeah, I can handle it in Born and Taken, but then there's other ones like Christopher Nolan. I can't see what's happening, buddy.
Right? Yeah, it
They're
gets so
great with mystery,
overused.
but you gave me a literally almost
Yeah,
head
who's
trauma.
fighting who here? What's going on? Yeah,
Everyone
Wow.
had rumors on why it happened. It's like it was more just they're kind of trying to do kind of what they were doing on cop shows like NYPD Blue and everything, but then it's taken to the max where it's no longer a steady cam. Now it's they're following you and they don't know how to follow you.
right. And they'd rather use like cheap tricks than actually take the time to do the choreography. and stuff.
Netflix, I think, was another reared its ugly head, and I think they found out. It's like, okay, we're gonna film quick and cheap, but
Mhm.
we cannot. I'm sure there's plenty of other people who hate
Oh,
their
yeah.
day job, even though they're being paid out the ass to correct dialogue and syncing, and it's like you notice it anyway. You just notice something is off.
Yeah.
I noticed I was watching, I think, Gunpowder Milkshake, and randomly it starts kind of, it's like I see blemishes on the screen randomly. And I was
Oh.
like, that's something I would expect from a red camera when you don't correct everything. And it's like,
Mhm.
I backtracked. I'm like, nope, it's not my screen. It's not buffering or anything. It's something's up with the final
Yeah.
cut. I hate that. And this is
Yeah.
2021, and
Yeah, there's no excuse for that.
No. And they had all the money in the world, and I know it went somewhere. And I know Frank Grillo said that when he was doing some of those cheap movies with Bruce Willis, it was like some of these guys are using Ponzi schemes. They collect all the insurance money,
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
their
It's all
under the
about
table money.
it's tax
They don't need-
shelters and things like that. Yeah.
and they know they're doing it, but they're not going to prosecute them unless there's like some other fraud or just something major they can't ignore.
Yeah. money laundering schemes. Who knows what's going on with those movies?
And I know people now are getting pissed off when they see a movie that's coming out, and Isaac Florentine and Jesse V. Johnson are kind of like the action gods of video on demand now. But they get annoyed when they see the shooting schedule. They're like, 14 days. That's not going to be good. So movies can now die even easier. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I wasn't surprised now that, any movie that no one wants to digitally reproduce but wants to shell out for rent, someone's going to buy it eventually and put it on Amazon or what have you. Because not everyone even wants to buy the physical media. Because once you buy it, it's like, I have DVDs now and Blu-rays that I'm getting rid of by giving to friends. I would love to if I had, room, but now I'm just like, I want to share the entertainment instead of telling you about it, how good it is. I want to give it to you. So now you can't, make an excuse that you did not see it.
Yeah, my co-host Dustin, he's a huge collector of Blu-ray and DVDs. It's like going into his house. It's like going into a video store.
Yeah, you're going to see it discounted. I had some fun, junky action and horror movies I saw at gas stations that were like $2 to $5, and it was like, that's a deal. I can't.
Yeah, you can't pass that up. No. But I get his hand-me-downs.
Versus The Mummy, that was fun. That was a fun, low-budget action horror movie that someone made with heart, and it had special features, and I paid $2 for it. It was great. But then there was other ones. It's like there's some obscure actions. Like, you know what? It might not have the cover or everything, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get that. I'm going to have fun with it.
That's right.
But there are some other ones where you're just like, what's going on? And you got to even be on the lookout and see if someone modified it,
Yeah, right. Fact. Yeah. Wrong aspect ratio or something like that.
Oh, God. It's bad.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's also even more chaotic when, with Blu-rays, I had to see which ones are region-free. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy an additional player to...
Oh, so you haven't made that jump yet into
I haven't yet, but sometimes the region-free ones are even the better ones to get, even if you have to sacrifice a special feature. Like the TV show of 24 got a Blu-ray treatment, but it's region-free and you have to order it from Japan.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And there's a big-ass difference. I saw a comparison. I'm like, it does not look even that good on Amazon or Hulu. But like you say, I mean, that was cool too, because like there'd be some... when I saw shows like that in Blue Notice, I saw how martial arts, it's kind of like martial art. It's like martial art was like the starting point of making it popular to feature martial arts on a TV show again. So I love too how there are some shows out there that people regularly binge watch, like Nikita or what have you. And it's like they look forward to the ass kicking in addition to the awesome story.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, you're good. I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, the region free, the foreign region thing. Yeah. So when my co-host Dustin, whenever a new version of a movie he loves comes out, he'll buy it. It doesn't matter. So I get the hand-me-downs, or Michael gets them, the other host of Genre Exposure. And I love that. But a lot of them were like foreign regions, but movies I really like. So I'm like, well, damn it, I'll just go ahead and buy a, all region Blu-ray player. So
nice.
I did it. So I could play all of Dustin's weird ass movies now.
Hey, do what you got to do, man. Okay, so the guy who was scandal ridden was like someone got a sex tape of him or something. I don't know how they even acquired it. I don't know why anyone would care, but was Louis Koo. And look at his IMDb and you'll be like, I've seen him play a narc and everything, and Flashpoint with Donnie Yen, he's like the partner who gets killed, and you're just like, no, you don't kill him. But I love what he did in The White Storm, as well as the firefighter movie Out of Inferno, which was even shown in 3D. But yeah, my main intro to him was in Protege, with him and Daniel Wu and Andy Lau. He only has like a brief part of it, but yeah, Daniel Wu, that was like kind of my intro to him. That in Black Mass. Now other people know him from stuff like Reminiscence and Into the Badlands, which I couldn't get into, but I love it in
Oh yeah.
this and Man in the Iron Fist and Purple Storm and Overheard and even Geostorm and Tomb Raider. Is like he's another underrated dude who can kick some serious ass. And
Right. Yeah.
when I see him in this, it's just like, man, Hong Kong, what it does really well is definitely stuff involving undercover work. Here you got Andy Lau as a drug dealer who's like, well, I'm not harming anyone. And then you got Daniel Wu as the narc who's just like, yeah, but I'm just going to have to take you down, even though I totally understand you and I understand that they just want to take you down just because you're making money on the side, not because you're hurting anyone or a criminal.
Right.
You're selling to violent criminals, but that's a whole different story. So it is just interesting how just they can make some really deep movies that really stick in your mind. And it is like sometimes you have to force yourself, just like, I got to come back and revisit this. You know, this is too good to not talk about.
Oh yeah. Share with everybody.
Sharing is caring.
That's right.
There's some other ones that I'm really pretty surprised what they did good job on. They did a remake of Cellular in 2008 called Connected.
I haven't heard of that.
And it was pretty solid for what it was. And
Yeah.
I love even when it doesn't take off, like movies like Unbeatable and Invisible Target do their own original kind of boxing and superhero stories. And it's great because it's like you like seeing them be so comfortable with what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's like those low budget under the radar movies. Those are the most exciting ones right now. You know?
And I don't even know how anyone gets a copy of them because yes, Asia is just ridiculously expensive. Getting the Blu-rays, or they're out of stock all the time. So it's like, yeah, you got to hunt down, I find, on eBay. Or
I know, you think in this day and age, there'll be like the boutique labels need to get like to be like Netflix. They need to have an online presence.
I should 1,000% just go to freaking Chinatown next time I'm in San Francisco and just
Yeah, right.
buy out of the nearest DVD store and say, here I go.
Yep.
Spending $50. Not sure I'm going to transport this back, but here we go. Oh, man. Yeah. Do you have any other stars, just as a final kind of off-sin that is like you think they don't get enough attention except in like international work?
No, but I do want to give a shout out to Maggie Chung,
Maggie Chung, I think.
who I always really liked. She was the long-suffering girlfriend May of Jackie Chan's character in the Police Story movies.
Yes.
She did a lot of stunts that were pretty dangerous, and she got
Did she
hurt
know
really
some of this
bad.
shit one time?
What's that?
Yeah, she's also in the mood for love and hero, but yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't she try taking up some kung fu?
she did. She did some of it. Yeah, like she was in the Heroic Trio.
That's right. That's excellent. Yeah, and was offered a role as Lady Deathstrike in X-Men 2.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. But I've always liked her. She was always such a trooper. Like she took falls and she got right back up, and not
She's
being a
even in
trained
Chinese
martial
Box
artist is
with
pretty
Jeremy
impressive.
Irons. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was always great.
There's plenty of those other actors who you see in both Fist of Legend and Drunken Master 2 is like they're always being comedic or henchmen or crazy nephews or uncles, and they are fucking funny. One that doesn't get talked about enough is the Young and Dangerous gangster movie series. So many of them, but if you can watch the first 4 and even part 6, you'll be totally entertained. And
Okay.
you can see why those filmmakers who are also the cinematographers later worked on Infernal Affairs and what have you, because it's like they know how to do all kinds of tones within minutes. It's just one of those where it's just everyone's comfortable doing wherever it goes. They love their characters. They love glamorizing how they're all kind of criminals and everything.
No, I'm getting a lot of good suggestions here. I got a lot of stuff to watch.
And it's not easy to just, describe either. And like you say, the DVDs are just so out of print. Like you go to even IMDb and they got the photo of like the Tai Sing, like VHS. Like I'm not hunting down the VHS. I want the DVD.
Right.
It's $50. So
Yeah, I am not nostalgic for VHS. Not the quality anyway. The experience is sure.
Unless that's the only one it's then, but even then, I'm still more likely to just obtain like a fan-made on-demand like transfer or
right.
Because eventually,
I just love my VCR though.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch them, and then I do too. I have one of those. It's a part DVD, part VHS player, and it's like, but even then, eventually, I'm gonna give this to someone else who I think is gonna love it more than me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I don't cling on to it. I'm the courier, and there's other times where everyone's like, "What do I owe you?" I'm like, "I want you to enjoy it. Watch it."
Yeah, pass it on. That's awesome. That's
all I ask you to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking you to collect, dust on your shelf. At least watch it within the next year, please.
Yeah, or if you don't, hand it off to somebody else.
Please. Yeah. Are you familiar with Eric Tsang?
The name rings a bell.
He's the other guy in just like a bunch of those movies, and he's always being a smart ass. Carolina Lau is another one who's pretty awesome.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, Tsang, I think apparently, I guess he was a perv or something. But but he's just so fucking funny, and I see other people said, "Oh, I don't find him funny." I'm like, I don't know, agree to disagree. But yeah, Jackie Chan. Some of those other guys who were like in the Once Upon a Time in China ones that they made without Jet Li were pretty good. But yeah, it's all pretty awesome. But yeah, Maggie Cheung was also in Ashes of Time and Twin Dragons. So yeah, she does a lot of Hong Kong Wong like period piece movies, and then, like you say, gets tossed around.
Project A2, one of my favorites. She was in that one.
And see, Project A1 and 2 both blend together for me, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Like they are.
No, they're both awesome.
I can't pick which one I like better. I like the Armor of God movies, also known as what are they called?
Eastern Condor, I think they call it over here.
Yeah, just outrageous names overseas. And yeah, it was just there's plenty of Jackie Chan winners, and again, they were all the time on like USA Network and Spike, and there was another one that played him a lot. It wasn't FX. That's another one. Yeah, so it's like it wasn't, and it's like Best of All Worlds is like they had all these access, and half the time everyone would be like, "Oh, these are newer ones." It's like, no, they were made within the '90s, early 2000s. They were not even close, and even the ones that kind of are annoying on first run through still stick out to you just because the stunts are just so good. And it gives Super Cop 2 sometime. You really like where the story goes with Michelle Yeoh's continual undercover and everything. Mm-hmm. She even did the dubbing for the American releases, just like Jackie. So it's like, I love seeing their pride in that. We did a Highlander episode recently, and I said, you know what? I'm going to rewatch Endgame, because I think that I always found that to be an underrated role for Donnie Yen, despite them cutting his role up to shit. Like, I loved his character and everything, and I think that and Rogue One are just more influential than any of his other American appearances I've seen him in.
Yeah. He was one of the best things about Rogue One, for sure.
Oh, that's just it. Rogue One's don't like it or hate it, but it's like, it is interesting how it's like, hey, there's just so many other just movies he appeared in. It's like, yeah, but there's just nothing to his character. And I think he kind of knows, because he kind of just shrugs it off, which is a shame, because you like to think that with talented people, you can cut together a pretty well done action movie. And unfortunately, sometimes I get stuff that's the equivalent of kind of like Cradle to the Grave. It's like you had all these cool rappers and martial arts stars, and you just got a junky movie with crappy editing and stuff that just even the trailer made look way better. And it's like, nah.
Yep.
I was looking forward to this only for it to be like, sucked.
It happens.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of them on Prime. If you want to find some other apps, there are plenty that you can download from your app store that basically they just allow you to watch cable TV. It's like you're getting bootleg. It's kind of like Pluto. It's like all this stuff that's on demand. You can watch and stream wherever. So I have found some good ones on there. I found a really good one with Andy Lau. Firestorm. I was like, I'm so glad to finally see that. All uncut, uninterrupted. Didn't have to worry about how expensive the Blu-ray was or anything. I just watched it all then and there, uninterrupted, and it was dynamite. Some of them do have ads, but they're pretty minuscule compared to pay free extra bucks to get them omitted
Oh
from
yeah.
Hulu.
I'll put up with a few ads. It's not too big a deal.
I'll put up with ads, but with Hulu, I found out, I like when I was doing NYPD Blue and Stargate, I was like, yeah, it's not that the ad is bad, even though some of them are bad. It's that I have to see it every commercial break, and it's driving me insane. So
also adds to that run time. It's more time you have to, take to watch something.
It really does. And it's like, and sometimes you don't find out halfway through, I'm not enjoying this episode, I'm going to go on to the next one. And some of them really did get fudged over, because like I mentioned Nikita and some of those other ones, it's like they just keep adding them, and then it's like once you want to get into them, they're gone and will be gone on the 30th. I'm like, no,
I don't have time to watch everything. No,
it's got 5 to 7 seasons. No.
Yeah.
And there's other ones where you just got to kind of just go through. Is like, and I think that was my only issue with Louis Koo, is like he did have some that sounded interesting, sounded like a cool hard-boiled Infernal Affairs thing, but were kind of dull because they were too busy trying to be kind of like a Bourne Identity or modern-day James Bond movie, but they were compiled from like a TV show of the same name that aired, so that made it even more confusing, because there's inevitably going to be some subplot that doesn't make complete sense.
Yeah, it won't come together.
And some shows you can do that with. I know Britain has done that with NCIS, where they take the best parts of every season and make up, that's a movie. And I'm like, wow, I thought us American hacks were the ones who did that, where we took syndicated TV shows and edited it together like 3 different 2-hour movies. And they're like, no, they do it too. And everyone does it. It's even funnier what Japanese voiceover artists will dub some of our popular movies and shows, but they also dub stuff like The Simpsons. I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think, especially if you watch more Jet Li's movies, you're going to really like some of his and Chow Yun-Fat's movies. And Michelle Yeoh and Donnie Yen, obviously, if you watch any of them, you're going to become attached to a lot of their co-stars, because a lot of them, they work with a lot of the same people, but not in a bad way. It's just, they just so happened to land on that production. It wasn't like a Planet Hollywood production where now it's become a totally different thing. It's like, they're all working in, the oppressive, China mainland, and some dubs I don't mind. Some of the Sony dubs are pretty good, but there's some other ones where it's like, oh, they fucked it up.
Yeah, it depends. I usually prefer subs, but yeah.
Meltdown, doesn't matter which version of that I watch, it's still a fun Jet Li Die Hard knockoff movie. And it's just so funny how the producer and Jackie Chan didn't get along. So as revenge is like, okay, that's kind of a dick move, but it is kind of funny, featuring what if you had Jackie Chan as a co-star and he was, the hero, one of the heroes is a stuntman actor who has to save the day with stressed out cop Jet Li. And it doesn't matter if you're watching the uncut version versus the recut version for Sony with the rap music. It's like, it's just fun either way. But there's other ones, it's like, yeah, I've heard about that version. I will never watch that version. I will only watch the uncut version because I know they're going to cut out all these jokes.
Right.
But yeah, Simon Yan and Maggie Cheon are often just like the parents or like some kind of authority figure who just puts everyone in their place. And then, all these other guys are often they just come into the fold. There's this one morbidly obese guy who I just always guffaw, and I think he's in Drunken Master too, and I can never remember his name, but when he shows up as like a narc or a SWAT team captain or a politician, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. You do you, dude. And you're just showing up for comic relief. It's kind of a shame that they got to make fun of your figure, but you're a trooper. You're getting through it. You kind of had the last word by at least bitch slapping Jackie in the face or some shit like that.
Not many people get to do that.
Right? Something like that. And hopefully, I find a lot of superhero movies this day and age pretty overrated, but there are some that were good, and I did enjoy Shang-Chi, and I really do hope that everyone goes back and checks out Tony Leung's earlier work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I just hate it when some of them just show up and it's like, I know everything. I'm like, no, you don't.
Nobody knows everything.
And we're not doing this for bragging rights. I'm just like, you haven't even remotely just touched even the scrape of that.
Yeah, there's so much.
It's the same thing with Antonio Banderas. It's like, I reserve the right to say I am a hardcore fan because this last 3 years, I went through all of his, Spanish cinema. It was great.
Oh yeah, cool, nice.
I had seen some of it here and there, but not all of it. And mostly it was international ones. He even appears in this one Russian movie that could probably be best described as kind of an Ocean's 11, Now You See Me kind of heist movie. It's really entertaining. I saw it on Showtime, and he redubbed his character as well. And I was
wow.
how cool. And it's from like 2018. It's really cool. But yeah, there were those other movies where it's like, yeah, I mean, they're fun, but they're not, great. And there's other ones where it's like, yeah, this is a payday. But I get even more awkward how sometimes they will still do the dubbing for something like The Raid or a Donnie Yen movie, and it's just awful. They're just not even trying. Some of it is they're just trying, that's just in the budget, and other times it's like somehow they just seem to think we have to be deliberately bad. It's like, no. And now you're doing the Sharknado thing of where it's like,
yeah, they think Americans can't read or something too.
Evil Dead just
read subtitles.
Right. Evil Dead was awesome because it went for it. It wasn't because it was trying to be bad.
Yeah.
Some of it is bad, and that's part of the appeal. But don't do that whole, we're intentionally sucking. It's like,
no, I hate those. I hate those movies. You can't make intentional camp. You
really can't.
It has to happen naturally.
You can pull a Michael Bay and not give a shit, or be like Roland Emmerich or Jim Wynorski where you just don't care, but or you're oblivious to how full of yourself you are, but don't do the whole, like you say, it's intentionally bad. And it's like, that's just it. It's like, that's just how they were playing it. They were dubbing it onto film. And so you're trying to recapture Shaw Brothers. I'm like, it's got to be something like Black Dynamite where you're just in on the joke.
Right. Yeah, right. A satire.
You have enough people who grew up watching antenna channels, and they can repeat it word for word. They probably still got their VHS tapes of it, and they can totally replicate that. And hopefully with other movies like Dolomite, there's even, people rediscovering, blaxploitation too. So there's definitely a lot of people who will gladly pay pounds for all these remastered Blu-rays, but it sucks too how some of them, they're still just the Dimension Films or Sony release. It's going to be a while. If you want to find an uncut Blu-ray, it still might not have certain subtitles. And it's like, I think I finally found one of Drunken Master 2, and it was like, okay, it's fine. I'll go with the Dimension Films version, but it sucks that you can find live streamings of it, of the uncut version, but not certain copies. It's like sometimes there's very few. It's just like a change in Foley and like only a few cuts, but it's pretty much the same damn movie. But there's other ones you don't have that luxury, so it's like,
right.
What do you do other than go back to your old DVD?
Yeah,
from a Hong Kong store that was uncut.
Yep. With questionable subtitles.
Questionable subtitles that made you wonder, really, is that what they said? I don't think that's what they said. I think it's a cultural joke you're misinterpreting.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, this has been great having you on here. I can't. So other than Michael Wong's movies, guys, I know it's a drag, but check out all his stuff. You'll be so glad you did. He has this one great movie where this guy is like, think of Point Break meets Broken Arrow. Oh. It's like from 97. I'll look up the name of it, but it's so awesome because the lead plays a narc who becomes again close, and then Michael Wong plays against type. He's usually the SWAT team guy who's, again, just does Keanu Reeves type stuff. Like, whoa. And in this one, he gets to play against type, playing a bad guy, playing a freedom-fighting terrorist.
Oh, cool.
Who's stealing some nukes, and, then it's just a nonstop. They're got an out-of-control truck, and they're just doing kung fu inside the truck while it's about to, fall into the ocean. Is like, it's just great.
Sweet.
It's so good. And it seems like some people, it's just bound to martial arts. Like, it's kind of a best of the best thing. Unless you're at a kung fu school, a lot of people don't go out of their way to see all their movies. And there's still a bunch of Michael Wong movies. He did one with Shannon Lee called, Daughter of Bruce, called Enter the Eagles, that I saw twice, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, he was kind of like martial law. It seems like some people only know him from like a 3-person arc on John Woo's TV show version of Once a Thief. But yeah, this other movie I mentioned, it's called Theft Under the Sun. And again, just what I find with a lot of these Hong Kong films, they're so worth getting, even if they're region free. He started
Nice.
some fun supernatural movies where basically he's just, fighting an evil spirit, or kind of like a Hong Kong horror version of the Hidden at times. And it's like, those are fun movies. And Rare Lust has been a help. They've been able to get a lot of them in there. And it helps that he started some of those Tiger Cage movies with Donnie. And so it's like, okay. So if you haven't seen In the Line of Duty 4 with him and Michelle Yeoh, it's like, don't worry, you'll have your chance. You'll see him eventually.
Right.
I doubt anyone remembers him from this one Patrick Swayze movie or Transformers 4. It's like those are just such brief moments. I saw the episode of Nash Bridges he was on, and I don't even remember it. So it's like, and it's a key episode. I remember the rest of the episode. I don't remember him. So it's like, and I remember him in all this other stuff that is just too awesome and no one's seen it. And so I just have to keep saying, okay, I'm going to slowly introduce to some of these different movies if I haven't already shown you an awesome Brazilian crime movie or a hostage thriller or horror film from South Korea. So
Nice. Yeah. I got a lot to check out here. I got a lot of homework to do. This is awesome.
Totally. So Jason, what will you be reviewing next on Genre Exposure? I know you kind of you're doing a lot of horror movies now, and you've done
we do a lot of different things. Right now we're trying a format of where we do like a theme block every month. So right now we're wrapping up Westerns. Silverado just dropped.
Sweet.
And yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a great one. And the next one that's coming out for us is a Western that I picked.
I actually downloaded this at the start of our recording. I was like, here's an episode I need to hear your take on.
Yeah. So check it out.
Check it out. So this has been so great. And it's one hell of a day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I hope I did not wear you out.
No, not at all. I could talk movies all night.
I'm the same way here, and I try to divide it up. Sometimes I end up going accidentally into the other recording, like, oh shit, we got to wrap up in 10 minutes, but we just sprung a new leash.
Right.
All right, well, you be safe out there and keep recommending some entertainment that people can access.
Will do, man. You take it easy.
You know it.
We'll return after these messages.
JURS Podcast is proud to promote AutoCorrect, an independent film company with experienced industry professionals who can serve all your film industry needs. They include self-tapes, voice actor recordings, demo reel editing, script revisions, headshots, and much more. They're Actor Correct at your request. Book them on Instagram.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
Little
popping up.
history doll popping up
Absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
Greetings, friends. My name is Dean Legero, and I'm the host of the 3324 podcast. I invite you to join me and my lifelong friend Eric Kuber to come with us as we discuss the music and movies that shaped our life. Each week, we'll pick an album or film that we really connect to, and not only give you some great info and trivia, but also discuss, debate, and celebrate what it means to us and the journey it took us on. We also look forward to hearing from you and giving us some of your picks for us to check out and discuss. I think it'll be a really fun experience, so come along with us for the ride. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider and at 3324.buzzsprout.com. Thanks for your time, and welcome to the 3324 family.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-liner plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up